We're gonna cast ZEST versus BYUN, best of 5. Got this from the Wardy replay pack for January. I think it was an OSC championship. I believe this was the upper brackets finals. I looked up the right thing. Bottom left, it is DPG ZEST. In top right, it is BYUN. PvT, kind of one of my favorite matchups, if not my favorite matchup right now. TVZ is very easily said to be, I guess the majority opinion, best matchup. It's certainly been the most stable matchup in my opinion. It's always had good entertainment value. Sometimes better than others, but always pretty good. PvT has had a couple more phases of not really fun, sure, but still overall, I would put it pretty highly. Even when the players themselves hate the matchup. As far as the fun factor is, I think it's always been fun. And right now, in the current situation, current meta 2022, a little bit of 2021 as well, I think that it's in a very good place to watch. It's a lot of variety. And there's a lot of good Terran players, and still a lot of good Protoss players, though it does feel like in Korea, maybe the Protoss has struggled a little bit. But ZEST is not one of those Protosses who are struggling. He did seemingly burn out a little bit last month or a month ago, month before that, so like December. It seemed like all of the work he was doing was starting to wear on him a little bit, but he's back at it, basically. He's been grinding away on so many cups since last summer. Since he was told he will have to go to the military at any time, and he will have no advance notice. He's just been working his butt off. And that never really stopped. He was winning so many tournaments. He still is winning a lot of tournaments. Now he's back in the full swing of things. He's, I think, overtaken Hero Marine as far as the most open cups won. Yeah, Zest is doing really, really well. BYUN, I mean, he's just a fun player to watch, right? I feel like I have to talk more about Zest than BYUN, even though both of them are insanely popular players, because BYUN still probably more so the fan favorite. But as I size these two up, all things considered with the regular macro openers, I do feel like Zest is going to win. Just because he has been on such a hot streak lately. He's been playing so well. And BYUN, I still feel like, while he's very good, no doubt about that, I do still think that what is his micro and his kind of trickery is what really gets him a lot of those surprising victories, and not necessarily just like some straight up solid play. Although he can do that as well. So even though Zest is also a bit of a wacky guy and can throw in a couple of weird builds, for me, I look at this and I'm thinking that BYUN going to be more likely to do maybe a fake factory expand. Maybe some type of medevac first, Marine push out the front, what am I drop in the back type of early game. Where he tries to utilize his very good micro to the fullest advantage, and Zest is going to be more of the defender. But we'll see if that's actually true. Oracle opener is very standard nowadays. Feels like Stargate really is now 90% of PvTs. Zest, I still think, I love his Twilight Council work so much more. It's like loving a painter. I love this blue period so much more. I love his Twilight Council. It's the style of play that I love to copy personally. But there's really no doubting that Stargate has come back and like in vogue. And that it's a very good opener too. This Oracle already sees the Widowmine drop. Not a big surprise there, but it kills one of the Widowmines and still has energy left over to zap a couple of these SCVs. The second Oracle is going to come in and might take a gamble here to go back in the mineral line, assuming the Widowmines have not been planted. Nah, it's not. It's going to go back home. So behind that, Zest is going to grab Phoenixes, a third Nexus. So not quick into that Twilight Council to go into Blink, but rather Phoenix. And let's see here. Colossus, by the looks of things, with 2 gases being taken in the natural. That is a rather safe way to play. Phoenix Charge would be a little more mid-gaming. BYUN has been able to do absolutely nothing in this game, by the way. So he's taken nothing but damage. which is quite unfortunate. Because even if you could argue that very often in professional games, Widow Mine drops don't do very much, they still at the very least get maybe a probe for each Widow Mine, and the Protoss player has to temporarily panic, pull the probes, or I don't know, get their Phoenix to the right place. Maybe it delays their Nexus by half a second while they're microing, right? And that's not the case. ZEST has literally done everything he wants and only just now loses a unit. The weakened Phoenix went down to the Widow Mine. But that is still a lot of time for ZEST to not be worried. Because even though he lost a Phoenix, it was while he was on his opponent's side of the map, getting great scouting and still getting some reward for it. Picked up a couple Widow Mines and killed them. So he just macros happily at home. I actually really thought that ZEST was going to go into Colossus, but he's actually going to charge. This is going to be the addition of the Archons much faster. Oh, look at that. Yeah. So a lot of times you're going to go into Phoenix charge. You can actually skip at the very least the 4th gas. If not straight up the 2nd or the 3rd gas. You wouldn't build a whole lot of Phoenix. You'd be building a lot more charge lots. But ZEST has done things like that. ZEST has built 2 proxy gateways. He actually recently did that in GSL. But I was even thinking a year ago. Okay, I'm a real ZEST hipster. I saw it first. And then just spam charge lots. But this is not that. This is the 2 gases not leading into Colossus necessarily, which would utilize this gas, right? It's into just a couple of extra Archons. He might even go into Storm afterwards. We'll wait and see. I mean, at this point, that's one of his only options, because he still doesn't even have a Robo, much less a Robotics Bay. So that would have been really the first thing that tipped me off. And he has skipped Robos and instead done the proxy gateways. So it looks like it is going to be the proxy gateways, but not just charge lots. And only one proxy gateway, but charge lot and Archon. So ZEST is, I feel like he's really manhandling BYUN. I know not much has happened in the grand scheme of things, because even BYUN hasn't taken all that much damage, but it still really feels like ZEST is manhandling him. BYUN has not been able to get a word in edgewise, just got delayed here with a bunch of Marines being caught in the stasis trap, and he also is basically walking into a trap. Speaking of traps, like he's walking into one. I feel like he scans, good scan, he sees a totally prepared Protoss army, and a charge lot Archon army as well, and has got to worry about the plan here for ZEST to attack him. He's got to be worried that he's either running into an army that is very shortly going to explode with 12 additional zealots, thus losing his own army and not being able to defend back at home, or that he is just going to waste time, basically. Try to push in, fail, and then run back home and still be in a bad situation. So he just doesn't do much, runs back home and takes a defensive stance. But is it going to be good enough? He's lost a handful of Widow Mines. This game has gone on. His tank production might look a little useless here even. One tank could get surrounded very easily by the Zealots. But BYUN, I think, has chosen, for the situation, all the right things. Choosing to back away when he did, wait it out, get a few more units. It's going to look a lot better when the armies engage. I mean, he's got to be careful about surrounds or run-bys. Proxy gateway could have been used to get BYUN's army trapped. Also could be used just to run by, and that's exactly what happens. And ZEST ain't no big thing, just force fields off most of the units, although actually, not perfect force fields. Well, they kind of are now. They still haven't dissipated, but there wasn't enough charge lots. Even the Archon's not quite getting the perfect shots here. Auto turrets come down, actually get the Zealots to charge into them first, but here come the charge lots from behind. And that might be enough. The Phoenix finally trying to help out as well, tearing down some of these Marauders, tearing down the Medivacs. And there's certainly one thing that is true about these compositions. You can't really run away from Phoenix charge. They're supposed to be able to chase after you. Now, 2 Medivacs do manage to survive, and BYUN's macro, while temporarily halted as far as the mining went, was very good as far as the production went, is going to be able to hold on. But that was that could have been a lot worse, actually. ZEST, for a while there, looked like he was going to handle things perfectly. Looked like he was going to do the run-by to lift the 3rd CC, buy enough time back at home to both warp in again and get his run-by to come back home. And if it wasn't for, I think, all of the Marines slipping through, I think he would have been able to do exactly that. But so much of the army actually was able to slip through these force fields that ZEST was kind of obligated to engage at some point. And when he did, it just didn't actually have quite enough. So as it is, a bit of a wash. Both of them have an upgrade to their name. Actually, I think at this point, yeah, BYUN has 1-1. But ZEST just finished at +2, so there you go. Pretty even on that front. And ZEST, most importantly, is able to add in this additional splash elements. Obviously, for the Terran side of things, you see a charged Archon and Phoenix army. All those things vulnerable to EMP. That's what BYUN is getting to. They're not here in the front lines, though. And the Colossus are out, as I was saying, so I really don't think BYUN can do too much here. He can't exactly evacuate, though, which is why he's trying to play perfect balance right now. Some Zealots going to be annoying. 6 SCVs go down. Fairly quick cleanup, however, so, you know, 6 SCVs for 4 or 5 Zealots. Not exactly worth it for the Protoss. You think at some point BYUN is going to check out for that gateway, but he's got bigger worries that impending Protoss army on the front lines, no longer scared of the bio army. There's too many units have been added in. More Stalkers. Did Blink finish up? It did. And now BYUN is forced to fully retreat, which he can only do so well with the Phoenix chasing him. Warp Prism could be targeted, and it almost is. Oh my god, he barely saves it. He saves an Archon as well, sends it back into its death. But maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is going to be good enough. The Colossus falls as well, a little too close to that bio for comfort. The Archon, the last Archon that was saved, barely also going down. But there's still so many Stalkers left over with that +2 attack. They might be able to continue the advantage, but BYUN also barely holding on for now. Could maybe pull some SCVs to help. It still wouldn't be a great situation for the Terran, but he'd live another day. Because there's always that. Not forced to pull the SCVs, fortunately for him. He needs every mineral he can get. But ZEST still has that proxy gateway up. So the lack of the Warp Prism isn't even that problematic. ZEST is on 4 bases. He just finished up +1 armor, I think, too, so he's an upgrade advantage. Everything is going ZEST's way. And as cool as that almost was for BYUN to hold, everything else was going for ZEST. Going ZEST's way. Everything else was going really well for ZEST. And I'm even a little surprised he hasn't pushed the issue here, but he's waiting for more Archons, waiting for a Warp Prism, perhaps. Maybe he wants to snipe some of these ghosts. I see 3 of them, so it's unlikely he's going to snipe all of them. Hey, now there's the trigger pull. Phoenix over the bio army. Get those Widow Mines to splash on top of it. Unnecessary overall, I would say, but kind of worked out. The rest of the Protoss army still barreling down here. That army of BYUN is so weak, and it's a good thing so many medevacs did survive. It's the only reason he has anything to work with, but he's still ultimately down 60 supply and can't even take down these Colossus. The Warp Prism is microing them. More Stalkers come in. GG is called, and ZEST takes game number 1. It was closer than the initial, like, builds and situations really showed as far as momentum. And like confidence. ZEST really looked like he was just going to be, as I said, manhandling BYUN. But BYUN was able to, I guess not surprisingly, kind of push back with his micro and ultimately good decision making. I do think he pulled back when he should have and pushed when he should have. But a couple of situations later, a couple of fights later, ZEST macroing really well behind everything, and BYUN had just fallen behind a bit too much. So it is a best of 5. We'll see if BYUN can come back in game 2.